corporate was me going to Miami, like LeBron went to Miami.
Gotta be humbling though.
No, 100%.
You build a 7-figure business, then you gotta go back to work for somebody.
But that was acknowledging what I did wrong. If LeBron just felt like, yo, F this, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to win this championship, not knowing like what you need to learn and be better at and what you're surrounded with isn't going to help provide that, you have to go somewhere and learn that. And that's why I was like, all right, I'm going to go into corporate and I'm going to learn how to run a $1 billion business.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Social Proof Podcast. We have amazing guests who've actually built stuff. And this is my guy. This is my first time actually meeting you in person.
I felt like I've met you before, though.
Right, I feel like
so if I walked in and I was just like, yo, what up? It's because I felt like we've met and done that 100 times before.
Absolutely. And we're on a call pretty much every single week with the Power Circle. Yeah. So it is actually a pleasure meeting you, man.
Absolutely.
It really
pleasure
is.
Meeting you as well.
We're going to jump straight into it, man. Introduce yourself to the people, what you do, and we'll start right there, man.
Absolutely. Steve Canal, co-founder of One Venture Group, which is based here in Atlanta. I got my two partners, Jay Carter and Troy Brown. We kind of formed Voltron to put our businesses together. We all have our expertise. I have a background in sales, trade marketing, community affairs.
Hold on, you got to say a background in sales,
trade marketing, which is
trade marketing or
trade marketing, which is marketing for big box and retail. So the marketing campaigns that'll go into Walmart or Publix or Kroger's. There's a specific type of marketing for that. So being able to speak that language and create programming for Publix, because they're not going to want the same thing as a Kroger or Walmart. They want their own individual programs. So developing retail and based programs, marketing, field marketing, working with the Braves or the Hawks and creating programs for those partnerships and bringing those partnerships to life. Not just here in Atlanta, but we're a national company, so we work and develop programming from here to North Carolina and everything in between. My partner Troy has a background in tech, so he's our tech guy. So all the back end stuff from advertisements, targeting, retargeting, he's a G in that. He has 20 years. And Jay Carter has a background. He's worked in corporate and one of the guys behind a lot of activations here in Atlanta, from Soul Fusion, One Music Fest. So we all came together and brought all our businesses to become one. And no matter what you want to do, if you want to get into a grocery store, if you want to, get a new brand identity, new logos, websites, if you want to run ads to reach a certain audience, if you want to produce a 50,000 person event, we do it all under one house.
Gotcha. I want to talk about the trade marketing thing. How does Nike continue to get it right?
Into China and getting the deal there and bringing it back and opening up shop in Oregon, like that relentless, theme runs throughout now, because there's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of, innovation that's happening right now. You got sneakers coming from China, like a Li Ning. You got Adidas. You got Converse, you got all these brands, but they're still consistent throughout the years because they got that dog in them, that fight, that Phil Knight, that I think resonates throughout. And if you work at Nike, you just you have to bring it. You know what I'm saying? It's not something where you come up with lame ideas. They just align themselves with the right people to be innovative. There's a certain mindset. It's just like, there's certain big companies that'll only hire engineers because they know how engineers think. You know what I'm saying? And that is something that's part of their ilk. You know what I'm saying? When they bring in marketers that have an engineering background so they can think different and produce and innovate differently.
So how does an engineer think? What is so special about an engineer's thought process?
They're very strategic and they're very analytical and they move off of insights, right? They're continuously learning and they apply those key learnings to what they're continuing to build. They build off of what they learned off of. Most people don't do that. Most people will just go and they don't take the insights of what they've learned from the past and apply now. And that applies to everything in life, So engineer's mind is definitely more complex than the average.
And an engineer is something like someone they construct pretty much, right? And they just got to think through, like, not that I lay a brick here, but why am I laying a brick here? Did we dig deep enough to actually lay the brick here?
Yeah, they dive into the gray.
Yeah.
You know, the gray is that area. You have white and you have black, which most people live in. They live in that middle, the gray, of seeing both sides and how can I make both sides coexist in the world and live, which is how you create and build.
So working in corporate, because I think your story is just dope because you went to corporate to like steal the game, like intel,
Absolutely,
right?
100%.
Like spy vibes.
I had a plan.
Right.
I had a plan.
So walk me through that plan.
So, you know, prior I was an entrepreneur, and I had my business, and I grew it to 7 figures.
What business was that?
Think Group Media.
Think Group Media.
Say it again. I was expecting you to ask me that. All right, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, it's all good. It's all good. We just keep rolling. It's okay.
Yeah.
See, we are 100% natural. So the first business before you went in corporate.
Yeah, before I went to
built the
corporate.
7
So I had
figures.
I had my own business, Think Group Media, and I worked with, you know, Allstate Insurance. I worked with Magic Johnson's organization at the time, Delta, American Airlines, McDonald's, just bringing brands on, Presidente Beer, just bringing on contracts based off relationships. Like while I was, you know, doing stuff prior to that, I was just building relationships across the country. I did events in every state in the country. So by me connecting with folks and meeting people, like that led to being able to get contracts. So I built the business up to 7 figures.
How did you start though? Like what was the beginning?
Oh, if I go back, started in college when I was in college. So I went to Fordham University, played college basketball at Fordham on a full scholarship. My senior year, I tore my ACL. But prior to that, I was able to get Tommy Hilfiger to sponsor our team my junior year. And then Sean John our senior year, telling them we have a bunch of 6'8", 6'9" guys walking through the airport. Why not just outfit us?
Right.
So Tommy Hilfiger, you know, created velour suits, bags, all types of stuff for us, socks, everything for us to
In college,
wear.
you were striking deals.
Yeah. Obviously, I wasn't getting paid for it. I just got the gear. The
Right.
school benefited off
What
of
did
it.
you do though? What did you do to get that going? Like, what's the story behind that?
So playing basketball, I leveraged that. So playing basketball, I leveraged that to build a relationship with the senior director at Tommy Hilfiger at the time, Peter Paul, who I was just on the phone with earlier when we were talking about
gotcha.
fashion stuff.
Right,
It's funny how it continues to work.
Yeah.
He was one of the first that I met that showed me about what business was supposed to be like, and what being a good husband is supposed to be like. Because we're doing stuff together with Tommy Hilfiger, and I'm going back and forth between the story from like college to like prior. Then I'm gonna go back.
I like it. He still works for Tommy Hilfiger?
No, he's not there anymore.
gotcha.
Now he has his own business. He created Lala Anthony's clothing line, him and his wife, which is in Foot Locker, billboards all over New York City. His wife worked for Rockaware, Steve Madden, a bunch of folks. So historically, that's their ilk. That's what they do.
Right.
And I tap into that, you know, with some of the clients that I have and how we bring those brands to life. But when we would go out for Tommy Hilfiger doing events, because he was the first, they were one of the first to start wrapping vehicles. So they had a wrapped Harley in Tommy Hilfiger. They had a wrapped Hummer of Tommy Hilfiger. So when I'm going to college, I'm riding that Hummer in school on campus, some shit that nobody's seen, you know what I'm saying, like that. So when we would go out to events, he would always be with his wife. Like she was always there. It wasn't a time that he was out that he was alone, you know, and I'm seeing that. Like he's dancing with her, having a good time. I'm like, that's what I want, you know? So it was cool to experience that at that age. But while I was in college, built a relationship with him. Tommy Hilfiger had a team at Rucker Park, which is a huge basketball court and theme in the city. Played for them. So while I was in college, started talking to him about it. You know, like you got all these players, let's make this happen. And he made it happen. You know, he was a part of the Aaliyah campaign, Beyonce, all that stuff. So in college, built that relationship. Senior year, ended up doing Sean John because it was a new hot thing. And then when I tore my ACL and I'm having a conversation with him, he was like, come rock with us at Tommy Hilfiger. So I'm doing fashion shows, doing a concert series at Jones Beach. Like he gave me an opportunity to dive into it, right? Because I was still rehabbing my knee. From there, people saw what I was doing in an agency called Vital Marketing in New York, asked me to rock with them. Got the Army contract, and there was a national tour they wanted to do. So rocked out with them, helped build that out. Ended up doing the annual mixtape tour with the U.S. Army in that. And then from there, from building those relationships, I started my own company. I was like, I know the game. Like, I'm in these streets. Like, I know what the client wants. I know what the attendees want. I know the difference from state to state. Coming up with the ideas to execute and plan and how to actually move this tour from city to city. So I was like, I'll just do it myself, which I did. And that's what led me to Atlanta.
Was there a falling out of you and the company at all? Or
the CEO's in my book, Joe Anthony. Man, I don't have one ex-girlfriend that I don't have a good relationship with. I don't have one ex-girlfriend that I have a bad relationship with. Like, things don't end like that with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see past that. It's not that moment, you know?
You know what's crazy? Because there are some people that are the exact opposite, where they just leave a trail of fire, right? Like every relationship, something like really bad happened, right? What do you think that is caused by?
It's in their DNA, you know, like when you're growing up, that I'm pretty sure, I'd probably say 7 times out of 10, they've witnessed that growing up and it was a part of their life. So they feel like that's normal. That's how it should be. And then a lot of people metamorphosize into something deeper where they aren't happy unless they feel the pain or they feel somebody else feeling. Like, I'm going to do this so I can get a reaction out of you. And by getting that reaction, that lets me know that you care about me.
It's toxicity, right?
Toxic like a mug. Like, that's very toxic, but people live off toxicity. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people who live off of war. There's people who live off negativity. There's the yin and the yang. It's always, that's life. It's a part of it.
Yo, you know what's, I started to notice it, man, just, and really in a sensitive way of, you know, people who find themselves in abusive relationships. I noticed that people who find themselves in abusive relationships have been in an abusive relationship before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how, and not trying to be insensitive, but how do you go from abusive relationship to abusive relationship? Or you find, for some reason, you're always attracted to somebody that's going to cheat, and like that's just your thing, right? So how is it something that you're attracting, or is it something that people see like, oh, you're giving me the signs of what I like or what I'm used to?
Yeah, you know, again, I think there are things that motivate people, that put people in a position of comfort. Like, I'm used to this. I know what this feels like. And that's why sometimes somebody who's been in toxic relationships, they'll get in an amazing relationship and they'll bounce. They won't be there, you know, because they're not used to it. They don't know how to react to that. You know, that's where communication comes into play. And you need somebody that can really talk you through it. You feel like that feeling you're feeling right now, it's actually all right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not too many take the time to fight it through with people. They'll just let it, you know, end and move on.
Wow, that's deep. And I going back, dang, because I could stay there all day. Because like we have conversations, right? And I'm not afraid to talk about it. So like I like if somebody's going through something, I feel that, right? Or I have a gift of knowing like something's going on behind. But in terms of deep emotional connection, I lack that. Like I don't cry much, or maybe I'm too positive. Like, yo, that ain't that bad. We straight. Like I'm not, the things that maybe should affect me don't affect me. I don't know if that's a plus or a negative.
I think it's a plus because that's less stress that's on your shoulders. I think that's a reason why I don't have bad exes, because I was like, cool, or I just moved on, and how you felt is how you felt, and I'm going to respond, but I'm not going to sit here yelling and going back and forth with you.
Right.
Like, I've moved on. Like, if it was me or you, whichever it is, cool. And I know who I am. I know what I offer to the world. So there's no use in me, you know, sullying over a situation. I'm going to be all right. Like, we've been through too much in life to feel like because I broke up with you or this relationship is over, the world is over. Bro.
Let me tell you the backfire. So I was literally, I'll get into, we're going to jump back into the story, but I got to tell this one. So I was dating a young lady, and then, it ended. And like, she's crying, she's emotional, like, and at some point I said, well, and I was really into personal development, and I said, here's the good news, okay? Looking down the future, you're gonna be okay, and I'm gonna be okay. And right now it's tough, it's a tough moment, but we're both gonna be okay after this.
Right.
And she snapped. She thought that was the most insensitive thing another human can say to another person. And now looking back at it, I was like, dang, I was a jerk. I was really trying to get you off the phone. Like, all right, end of the day, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, you were a jerk, but how real was it though?
I was being really authentic.
And it's real though. You both are still all right. I'm pretty sure.
And we're both all right.
I'm really sure she'll look back like, damn, he was right.
Right, but in the moment, maybe
in the moment, nobody wants to hear that. Like, you just crushed me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and then it seems like I'm just brushing it off. Yeah. Oh, you're going through something. You're throwing a tantrum. You'll be all right. Yeah, that joint sounds terrible now that I'm into it. All right, cool. So you leave the original company, no bad blood. I'm sure you frame it in a way like, it's time for me to spread my wings.
Like throughout my entire life and process, anybody who's helped me get to the next level, who's given me a charge to get to the next level, taught me whatever, I'm always gonna acknowledge that. So it was never a point where I was just out. Like, my growth. Yeah. We're talking about it. I thank you every week because without the opportunity, I wouldn't be where I am. Mm-hmm. So obviously, my performance, who I am. So eventually, like, I can't stay here. Like, you're not gonna be able to pay me enough. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So the relationships always end cool, move on, and then I always do my best to show that love back. Mm-hmm. So whether it's assisting you in getting a contract for a deal, or being an ear to listen to a pitch that you have, or providing insight of my thoughts of what you're about to present, I'm always going to be available, regardless. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that without those steps, I wouldn't be who I am. So when I moved on, they knew what it was. And I took on the world and I created my own platform, grew it to 7 figures, and then the recession hit. During the recession, during that time, I was playing like I was LeBron first in the league. It was just all pure talent. Yeah. Right? And then LeBron had to fail, and then surround himself with the right people, gain the right insights, and put a plan together and strategy. Invest $1 million in my body every year to be the best performer. I went through that metamorphosis by going into corporate America. Going into corporate was me going to Miami, like LeBron went to Miami.
Gotta be humbling though.
No, 100%.
You build a 7-figure business, then you gotta go back to work for somebody.
But that was acknowledging what I did wrong. If LeBron just felt like, yo, F this, I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna win this championship, not knowing like what you need to learn and be better at, and what you're surrounded with isn't gonna help provide that. Yeah. You have to go somewhere and learn that. And that's why I was like, all right, I'm gonna go into corporate and I'm gonna learn how to run $1 billion business. So I'm gonna go into sales first because sales is what keeps the lights on. I'm gonna go through sales and I'm gonna learn about velocity. If I get a product in a store, how do I get it out of the store? How do I get people to walk out with it? And that's what trade marketing is thinking and using insights like, how many times do people walk through this door? When somebody walks in, do they make a right or do they make a left? How much time do people spend in the fresh produce? How much time do people spend, in the middle aisles where it's all, pretty much all the stuff that's not good for you. Right, like where, when they open a door at a convenience store, are their eyes looking straight? And is that the best placement for a product? Or is it when you open the doors to the left? Like there's so much that goes into it. So I went to learn that. And then, did marketing and alliance partnerships, working with some of the big sports teams and understanding what moves them, what kind of campaigns you're interested in, what kind of billboards do you leverage, to going into community affairs. All right, these nonprofits across the country, how can I help with the machine make you achieve your goals and attain your goals. And while doing that, impact the bottom line of this organization. So creating national programming that not only gives back to the community, but also helps the bottom line for the organization, because one's nonprofit and one is for profit. I can't move like they're both nonprofit and just keep taking money and giving it. Like, that's not good business, you know? And by understanding all those dynamics, and then on top of it, understanding strategy, like learning to plan 3 years out, 5 years out, what does that look like? That forces you to dive into insights by doing research and seeing what's new, what's coming. There's virtual reality, there's augmented reality. All right, what's next after that? And how can I incorporate brands into that? What does a brand look like 3 years from now? What do I need to do? You know, people are gonna go from, you know, loving coffee espresso flavored beers to now I want fruity beers and strawberry flavored beers. Now I want seltzer. You know, like where is society going? They're trying to be more healthy now. So you have to think that way.
How do you see that? Or how do you, like, first off, let's go back to like when you walk into a restaurant, a grocery store, do you go left or right? Like who taught you to to think like that, to learn in companies?
because we're human beings.
It's not based off chance. Like, we're just gonna drop a cool shirt. It's just cool.
No, we're human beings. So human beings love patterns. Human beings like to do the things that they're most comfortable doing. And people create those patterns, and more people think the same way than not when it comes to these situations. So you have your people who are going to go, when they first walk into a grocery store, they're going to look at the vegetables first, right?
Let me think of how I walk into the grocery. I guess so. Like, think about it. I guess so.
Vegetables and fruits. And then there's some people who are going to go straight to a certain aisle, or make a left and go to this area, or go straight to the meats. Like, majority of people, there's a good amount of people who think the same, that move the same way. So how can I market to those individuals? What are some things, like-minded partnerships that I can do? Is there certain seasoning that I can put next to the broccoli? Is there, a certain beer that I could put next to the apples? You know, so you're starting to think about alliance partnerships that way, because you're thinking how people think. And typically, if you like one thing, you might like something else. So you're trying to build to that.
Got you. So with so the successful companies are going past just the demographic, but the habits and behaviors of the demographic.
Oh, 100%. That's when you're making billions.
So on a smaller level, let's just say I don't know, I have a hat company, right? I'm trying to sell hats. How do I think past, all right, black people like dad caps, and I'm just gonna sell yellows and blacks?
But I think that is a fault for our community, which is the plus, right? The plus is we're very creative. The minus is everybody else eats off of us and our creativity, because we stop at the idea. Everybody sees the idea that they couldn't think of. They take that idea and then they monetize off of it based off the additional insights and research. To be a good entrepreneur, you need to be an amazing researcher.
Steve, you're talking spicy right now. Golly, keep going. I'm sorry.
You need to be an amazing researcher. You need to be able to research, and that's a key to being a successful entrepreneur. Like, we know, like, the dad hat's gonna be cool. We set that trend. But what do? We post it, might run some ads, give it to some influencers, and we stop. The people who turn that into a business, that same idea, now it's a multi-million-dollar business, a billion-dollar business. It's because they started to study the consumer. Now they're thinking 3 hats down the line. Now they're thinking, all right, they love hats. What else do they love? And they're starting to create a business and company now, where we just stop at that idea. So in order to be an amazing entrepreneur, you need to be able to learn how to study. It's very important. That's going to put you in a different ball game.
Learn how to study. Give me an example of a company that you either worked directly with or that you saw that started with like nothing. They started from the floor, and some things that you saw or maybe you implemented, you worked with the brand that helped it grow. Give me some examples.
I think instead of just saying examples of the company,
your own company,
I'm going to give you an example of the pattern. One was identifying the problem, which I think we all should understand and know. When One Music Fest was created, it was because people didn't think a collective of black people would want to stand in a field listening and watching music. So by creating a festival for people of color, and saying that, yes, they do, you have the idea, then it's proof of concept. The proof of concept comes from a smaller version of it and testing it out to prove your concept. And if people are coming in there attending and it's raining and they're still standing out there and appreciating it, you know you're on to something. Then you continue to research and study. But the biggest thing was the proof of concept and identifying the problem. Those are the two first things. And then actually applying it and seeing it through. You know, and once you get a response, then you build from there. Then you start doing more research. You start understanding the people who are attending, what kind of music they like, you know, what do they like to drink, what do they like to eat.
Through
you know?
Surveys?
Yeah, through surveys, you know, information. You know, you have their database at that point. You have a database with their information, so you need to interact and engage that consumer because they're a focus group. They're an internal focus group for you, where some companies might hire a company that can host focus groups for you to test products. You know, they'll have a group of 12 people in a room, and how does this product taste? How does this product taste? How does it make you feel? What do you like about it? What do you dislike about it? Now you're getting all this information from your target audience, right? And it's the same thing. If you do this smaller event and you get 2,500 people, you know, you can start doing multipliers because people start to think the same, so you can actually get that insight and then start building, you know, bigger platforms from there. But it takes that, again, that research and that studying to be able to apply it to your business model, to innovate and then scale.
And it is some of the things that you learned working for corporate.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
We made, when I was in corporate.
Who was your mentor there? Like, give me something genius where you was like, yo, that was crazy.
No, with corporate, nothing happens without insight. So nothing happens without data. So you have Nielsen. Nielsen's one of the biggest of collecting data, and they're big within grocery chains. So they can tell you all the biggest brands that are selling in every state, you know, in a convenience store, grocery store, you know, how, the volume, how they tell you everything. And they make decisions based off that. Like, all right, you know, for some reason in Nebraska, there's thousands of people drinking seltzer water. Now people in New Mexico are drinking seltzer water. So I'm going to create a seltzer water company and I'm going to start to market in that region of the country, you know? And if it becomes bigger and it spreads, then I have everything in motion already. Now I can scale and add it to other cities. But the data and the information is what leads that conversation. You have innovation where people will come up with an idea, but then it's always going to tie back, well, all right, let's get some information on that. Let's see how people really feel about it before you make a decision.
Wow.
100%. And then we had 2 or 3 years ahead where we knew what products we were going to drop, what commercials we're going to vibe with.
Driven by data.
3 years down the line. Like, that's just how it works, you know?
Dang. So is it like, yo, I'll do something for the next 2 years, and based on what happened in the 2 years, I'm just projecting that these 2 years will repeat itself. Obviously, you know, considering, you know, changes in economic structures, things of that nature.
Absolutely.
Dang, that's dope. You know what? I'm starting.
You got people like, that's their job.
Yeah.
Like, you're not in insights, in marketing and something else. Like, your job is to research, study, and gain data and provide, you know, that data, those data points to the marketers, to the sales folks to make decisions based off that.
Yeah, you know, you think about building a team, you think about somebody that's going to be the face of the company, somebody that may be good with sales, connections, but you never really think about somebody like your sole purpose is to analyze.
Yeah, that's the saying when you say this person got their ear to the streets.
Yeah.
For us, that person's in the community collecting data. They know what's cool. They know what's not cool. That's your insights person in the hood, in the, you know, in the community. they got their ear to the street. So it's usually somebody younger or somebody within that space that you tap into, and you bring them closer because they're going to tell you what's cool, what's not cool. Right now we have social media, so you can actually follow, unfollow people and kind of get that gauge. But prior to that, you needed somebody who had their ears to the streets.
Yeah.
That's why corporate America hires agencies. Agencies is the ears to the streets. In corporate, you're just sitting behind a desk on your laptop all day, taking your laptop home, cooking dinner, eating, walking your dog and enjoying life. Agencies are at the club, they're at the concert, you know what I'm saying? They're at the sporting event. Like, they're the ones who actually know the pulse of the streets. That's where all the creativity comes from, is the agencies. Now in corporate is, if a person like myself comes into corporate, it's different because I come from the agency world.
Right.
So I was a part of creating those concepts and ideas. So I bring those creative ideas to corporate, and that's why the programs I built were the most long-standing programs that they ever had at the company, because I was building cool ass shit.
Give me the edited version.
I was building cool I was building cool platforms, so that they could vibe with, that was impacting bottom line and people thought were cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You think like an engineer. Because coming from you building a 7-figure business, so when you come into corporate, it's a piece of work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dang, that's dope. All right, so how long were you in corporate?
I was in corporate for 10 years.
10 years.
The reason why I stayed so long, I felt like it was a sacrifice because I was managing dollars. Remember, I got into community affairs as well. And at that time, I had a huge budget to create programming and give back to the community. That was my job, give back to the community.
And
so
it's a sense of like purpose, right?
But yeah, absolutely, a sense of purpose. It was fulfilling. But picture you having, a vault of, let's say, $7 million that you can go into your neighborhood. You go back to Jersey, you can go here in Atlanta and distribute that cash to the people who are doing cool things in your neighborhood.
That's a cool job.
Right?
Golly.
And you know that you're giving back, because if you're not doing it, what's the likelihood that somebody else who doesn't look like you or think like you is going to actually go into that hood and give those dollars to the people actually doing the work? You're going to partner with big national organizations that might not be touching the people who it needs to touch. So for me, I built a program called Tap the Future. Miller Lite Tap the Future. Miller Lite is the original light beer.
I did a pitch for that.
Yeah.
Was Damon John a part of it?
Yep.
I did a pitch for that. That was your campaign.
Yeah, that was my program.
Wow.
So I signed Damon on to come on and be a part of Miller Lite Tap the Future. And we did it for 5 years. We did that tour for 5 years, traveling the United States of America, listening to pitches and providing funding and resources to small businesses across the country. Right?
I like that.
So, that was definitely fulfilling. But to me, I was like, I'm in a position where I can give back, and I'm still creating and I'm still learning because I'm on tour with Damon. Who else do I want to listen to every time on tour, going from New York to California to everywhere? Like I was getting a master's degree every, time we connected, and built a solid, amazing relationship. And I have my brother, Kenny Burns, who's here on V103 now. He was the host. He was the host of the show. So him, Kenny Burns, Damon, myself, then I would get judges in each city. But that's why I stayed in corporate so long, because every year I was getting millions of dollars to create programming. I was refurbishing basketball courts all over the country. Like
almost like Robin Hood. He was like the black corporate Robin Hood, bro.
Right. So it was like, to me, I felt like it was my duty to stay in that role and keep giving back. Until the point where I was like, all right, I need my time back. Yeah. I was a part of the hiring process for the person who backfilled me. So I felt good about that. But I had to move on. Yeah. And 5 businesses, 6 businesses later, from leaving, it was the best decision I could have made. I could have easily been comfortable, like, I'm gonna keep getting these, these checks, these 6-figure checks, and chill out.
Right. And like feed your community.
You feed the community.
I can see why you can go from running a 7-figure company to like a really good job where you make good money and there's purpose and it's cool, and you're making connections. So I bet you cringe when you hear like these, entrepreneurs like nobody should work a job. And like you're like, what?
Yeah, that's why I say if you work a job, just make sure you have a plan. Move with purpose. Like we all should move with purpose. Once you identify what your purpose is and what you're trying to accomplish in life, it makes your days that much easier because you know what you're working towards. Yeah. And the days that things don't work out as well, you know that you still got you one step closer to where you're trying to be. Yeah. So, I don't knock people to go into corporate. Like everybody has their thing. Some people aren't built to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And they want to show up to a job, have that built-in family through your organization, and get a check every 2 weeks or every month. And they're good with that. And that's okay.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And then there's people who want to be entrepreneurs, who want to continue to build and grow and have small businesses. And that's okay. Yeah. Where I have a problem is when one starts to bash the other. I'm like, that's not the life you want. If that's not the life you want, leave it alone. Like, you're not built for it.
Right.
Entrepreneurs aren't built for the corporate life. Like, no, entrepreneur doesn't want to go in and listen to somebody who you're smarter than tell you what to do every day.
Right.
That's annoying. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's annoying, and then you have to fight to make more money. And they're going to tap the shoulder of people they know, opposed to you, even though you're killing yourself. Yeah. It's not a life you want. You're not built for it either. So for somebody that can actually take that and actually make a career out of it and figure it out and break through that glass, like, kudos to you. That's an accomplishment.
For sure.
I just happen to do both at the same time.
Yeah. So when you left, were you building your business before you left? Or
I was a corporatepreneur, so I was always doing both.
Yeah. So what was the plan? What happened? Give me the moment, if you remember the moment, like, yo, this is it. I'm done.
Yeah. It was a combination of things. The organization itself had a parent company. They had two parent companies at first, and then one sold to the other. Then there was one parent company, and then, they're overseas, and they have all these ideas, concepts, and ways they want to go as an organization. Business, the beer industry wasn't the best during that time. So it's like, do I want to stay on a sinking ship while I'm building this stuff? But the moment where I was like, all right, it's time to go, like, start up the car, is when I released The Mind of a Winner. I released The Mind of a Winner. First book, it hit #1 on Amazon in 24 hours.
Wow.
People wanted to hear what I had to say.
Yeah.
And I had to go on tour, and I had to continue to build and grow from there. Yeah. And, I had other platforms that were starting to grow in their space as well. And I was like, in order for this to purely take on what it's supposed to take on, I need to give it all of my time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Before I can do halfway, I was still putting in all the work, but I wasn't there all day. I wasn't there making phone calls, meeting people, and doing what I needed to do to get the business where it needed to be. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So by leaving, afforded me the time to be able to put it towards everything that I wanted to do, everything that I love.
Was all your money outside of your job coming from the book at that point?
Outside of the job, no. I was still consulting. Mm-hmm. So people who are starting businesses, helping them go through that entire process. Mm-hmm. You got LegalZoom, and then you got somebody who will talk to you every day, respond to a text message, and do what you need. So registering businesses, learn, basically start, grow, and scale your business. You know what I'm saying?
All while you're in corporate.
All while I was in corporate. Because I had time, when I would check out from one, those hours would go towards my business. I was still a high performer in corporate because I just mastered time management.
Yeah. Dang, I suck at it.
Yeah, that's one thing.
I'm getting better.
It's important, man.
What are some keys you got for time management? I need help.
Respect time.
Respect time.
Respect
Go
time.
for it. That's deep. That's deep. Give me some.
Yeah, understand that, the minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes that pass by, the second that just passed by, we don't get back. Ever again.
Right.
It's gone. So that's like me just every time a minute goes, that's $1 that's just going. And another $1 that's going. And another $1 that's going that I'm never going to get back. Like, I can't get that $1 back, right? And in order to efficiently manage that, you have to respect it. And And by respecting it is, if I say I'm a, like, even coming here, like we talked, you're like, this time I planned everything to a T to make sure I got here around a certain time, because that's what we talked about, right? Some people might be like, I get here when I get here, or I got other stuff going on. Like if I need to cut something off in order to respect and appreciate that next hour, the next minute, that's what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I know that the time that we're building and doing this, I can't get back. You know, and this is gonna be a unique situation, so I'm gonna put a level of respect onto this. And I don't do anything that doesn't come with this level of respect for that time at all.
Wow. So how do you begin to not only respect your time, but how do you show that you're respecting your time? Because I mean, I feel like I respect my time, right? I'm not just I slow down
consistency.
on
Consistently doing it. You can do anything here and there. When you're consistently doing it, people know that.
Give me an example.
So whether it's my wife, we've been together. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary.
Congrats.
She knows if I say something at a time, she's gonna be ready by that time. Because consistently over years, I've shown that, and I've shown her that I respect that time. And when I say a certain time, she knows I'm saying it for a reason. She knows that I've planned out everything to a T. So if we say we're going to a movie, we want to park, we're gonna get to the counter, you're gonna be like, do I want popcorn? If I do, can I get butter halfway? Then bring it back, you fill it up, and I'm gonna put more butter onto it. Babe, can you get the slushy? I want these 3 flavors. So we just spent about 15, 20 minutes just deciding on items that we want. Then there's another 15 minutes before the show starts with the credits, you know what I'm saying? And then watching the movie, and then, you know, what we decide to do after, if it's go home or whatever. Like, I think through everything. So when I say a time, like, I've actually thought of outliers. So when you said a certain time for us to meet today, I was like, I'm at the hotel. From here to here, it takes this time. There might be traffic, there might not. So I'm gonna give it a little, you know, fluff just in case, and just communicate so you know that on the way, know that I respect your time. That's how I move with everything.
You know, it's crazy too, because I have that same level of the time. So like, I'm not gonna say we're gonna record at 3 and get here at 3. I give myself like time for setups, stuff like that. But very rarely do people come early. Very rarely.
Yeah, that just
that's crazy.
It just, you know, that's people. There's not the same. I'm not gonna say other people don't respect time. We just don't have the same level of respect for that time. Because there's a lot of idle time. That if you just paid attention and just respected it, you could have been on time, but it wasn't something major that made you late. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't something that you absolutely had to wait for that made you late. You were late because you just allowed the time to go by.
Wow. Was there a point where you started to respect time? Is there like did something dramatic happen, or were you just starting to notice certain patterns, something that like really got you fed up and say, yo, I'm not accomplishing as much as I should, and let me pay more attention to my time? Was there a moment, or you always been like that?
I think I've always kind of been like that.
I think I got like an internal clock too.
Yeah, I've always been like this. As I grow, especially as a professional, I definitely see the value in that time more. But it was always built in me, something I always respected. But I definitely understand how it can impact your day-to-day now. 100%.
Wow. So you were, after you quit, you're still consulting, you drop your book, you're going on a book tour. What did you start to build past your book in that period, which led into kind of like this whole Voltron, Captain Planet situation you got going on with your partners?
Yeah, so the brand executive, which is one, just putting people and businesses in a position to understand that they are a brand and they're the CEO of that brand. Whether you're a person or a business, like You make the ultimate decisions of if this business is going to succeed or fail. And what are the systems you need to put in place to make sure you not only achieve success, but sustain it over time? Who are the people and the networking that you need to do to surround yourself with the right people? When the external world sees what's a reflection of you and your brand, have you put thought into it? Like, there's meanings to colors, there's meanings to numbers, there's meanings to fonts and how things look. Like, did you just ask somebody in India to do something for you and you just rocked with it? Or did you actually put thought into that process? Because it all matters, because successful agencies and successful companies, the one thing that they can do is tell a story. If you can tell a compelling story, a good story, you can sell anything. So in order to be able to be on top of your game, to be able to spit that game, you have to know all the intricate details. You have to be able to build on that story. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I built, I have black in my, brand, for bold and strength. And that's what I want that's what I want my organization to represent, and fire. And, you could start talking about, purple and royalty and all types of different things of why things went into your brand, which is a conversation starter. And people start to see you in a different light because they know that you're not just saying anything, like you put thought into your words. There's a whole other level of respect that comes with that. So it's just tactics of, when you're networking and meeting people, like being able to dive a little bit deeper into that brand story definitely goes a long way. Gotcha. So you're building, and you weren't doing corporate clients, right? Just more small business owners, or what? It was a combination. Yeah, it was a combination, because some organizations needed help with, certain staffing stuff, event execution. Which makes you dope too, because you've been on both sides now. Been on both sides. So working with brands within both spaces, corporate and, startups, entrepreneurs. So you got the brand executive. I was doing speaking engagements for the Mind of a Winner. So I'm speaking for corporate functions as well, doing trainings with employees and staff just on mindset, how to think, how to approach your job, because I was in corporate, so I can give you insight on that that entrepreneurial mindset, working in a corporate setting. How to climb the corporate ladder, having those conversations, and then in addition to that, I was building other platforms, like myself, Kenny Burns, and Enaton created a platform called For Women Only. By married men. So we travel across the country. No, that's for sisters only. That's different. What did I say? For women only? Yeah, for women only, yeah. Right, but you heard it for sisters only. That sounded really good. That's why I was like, hold up, is that my brand as well? But yeah, it was like a big conference in Atlanta. I don't know if they're still doing it, but for sisters only. So for us, for Women Only, was a national tour that we built, and we went from city to city. It was just women in a room, and 3 married men just talked about our experience from being single to what the thought was when we were getting engaged, to being married now, having children, having a woman who's all encompassing, just dope, professional, how men can get intimidated by that, and just answering questions. We developed that platform, which we partnered with Cavarcier on across the country. Dang, that's dope. With myself, Jay, One Music Fest, that's been going on for, now 11 years. So there was a lot that was going on, in addition to continuously building on relationships where an organization or a relationship might not need my services or my concepts or ideas at that moment, but I knew eventually they would. Right. So just continually to build those relationships, and then eventually, there's something that people need. Yeah. So how did y'all come together though? Because he's doing One Music Fest. It was just something that, we collectively just got together. It's like, you know what, man? Like, we've been working together all these years, but we never offered our services of everything we're building and how we built it and our expertise to the world. So we, everybody came to New York We're in the office, and we just talked about everything that we can offer, all of our experience, and how we can now offer that to the world, and now how can we package that as a business to offer to the world.
That's pretty dope. Just coming together.
Yeah, we just put all our capabilities together, and we've been rocking out, and we've been working with some amazing brands, athletes. We curate our own events. We just did One Music Fest in November, November 1st, pre-party to the vote, where we worked with Michelle Obama, Stacey Abrams. We had hella people, come on the show, from Damon John to Felicia Rashad. We had a lot of folks who came on there, and then we had performances, 10 years of One Music Fest. We had new performances. It was just a dope vibe, 3-hour show that we produced. It looked like you were watching something on CBS, but we also want to display to the world our capabilities as well, and show that we can pivot, because we're used to having 55,000 people in a park listening and watching shows live. Can't happen right now.
Right.
So we didn't decide to take a year off. We kept it rolling, and we produced it virtually, so we did a virtual festival. But yeah, we came together, and we just wanted to offer all our capabilities to the world, man.
Yeah. I gotta be a little selfish right now, because I want to get into some things from me in my brand, right? So you are the person who merges the company, big company dollars, with somebody who has a dope idea to the streets, right? And create these campaigns. What do I gotta do to get a deal with Doritos? I stopped doing the videos. I kind of just I create my content. I'm actually recording some tomorrow, but what would I do? Because I think I have a really strong brand, and I would love to wear Puma every episode, right? So what do I do to take a dope brand concept, whatever I do, and connect with a corporation?
It's a loaded question, because the first thing I'm going to ask you, I would need an answer to. And that's, what does Doritos stand for right now? What is their brand about? What's their target audience? Do you have the audience that they want? You can have 1 million people watching your show, but if 1 million people don't like Doritos, then those 1 million people don't mean nothing.
Dang, that's deep.
And then,
so I need to do my homework on identifying which brands
actually align, and you can tell by commercials, you can tell by billboards, you can tell by who they partner with. When you go to certain websites, all that's there is going to tell you who they're interested in, who their target audience is, right? And then you need to identify your demographic, your information. What does your audience look like? Right. Do they like Doritos? And if you don't know that question, then you should start sending out surveys to your folks and ask them a myriad of questions for brands that you like. If you want Puma, if you want Doritos, if you want Rolex, if you want, certain.
Think Rolex to sponsor me? I like to see you enjoy it. Yo, Rolex, if you watch it, okay? I would love to be on with the Diddy.
Identify what those brands are. And then start to, on your end, identify what your demographic is, and then send a survey to them. Hey, do you like these brands? And then collectively, you can say, hey, 80% of my audience, whether it's 10,000 people, 20,000 people, love your brand. And then everybody's on LinkedIn. You can send a note, nice packaged, one pager, additional information about your company, showing the data that actually aligns with their brand.
Take notes.
That aligns with their brand, shoot it over and say, hey, I'd love to get a conversation. What they're going to do is they're going to connect you with their agency of record to see if it's something that can make sense.
Agency of record.
The agencies are the ones that are actually creating the programs for the brand. So you can reach out to the CMO of an organization. That person doesn't control the dollars. That person tells the people controlling the dollars what they would like to see and where they want the business to go based off the board of directors and the numbers they need to meet that year. But the person running the brands are the directors, and the brand managers who are actually working with the agencies. So having a relationship with agencies, is very important.
Hold on 1 second. So I need to identify their market, their target, then identify my own target.
right?
My target.
And create a list of brands that you want to work with, and do a survey with your audience to see which brands they're vibing with and which brands they're not. And once you get that data, you'll know which brands you can reach out to.
Then based on that data,
if the data speaks that language. So if your audience, if you got 3% of people that say they like Doritos out of 10,000 people, then you don't need to be reaching out to Doritos because your audience doesn't rock with them. They're gonna partner with you because at the end of the day, what they would like is for you to help them sell more product. If you're not helping them sell more product, why are they giving you any money?
So either way it works. Whether it's high, I can say, hey, my audience, they love you. Let's continue to create content for them. But if it's low, we can say, well, I like to bring my love.
Do you think that, getting 5,000 people is going to really be an impact to the bottom line when they're spending millions of dollars? They're spending millions of dollars on Super Bowl commercials here, there, and everywhere. So what you need to present is how not only am I going to help you with this audience, but we're going to continue to build off of what I have. So it's going to go from the podcast to, editing and being on YouTube and increasing the viewership, to creating, local events, to creating a virtual series, and you're packaging your product to present, opposed to just saying, hey, these 10,000 people are gonna, do it for you. You need to really present and package, a concept and a program.
So package my product or my offering, right?
Yeah, just think about it. They're spending millions of dollars already. How are you going to impact what they're doing, right? So you got to really be creative and think big. The problem is we don't think big enough. We're looking for $10,000 checks. Like, they're spending $500 million, $800 million on marketing, and you want a $10,000 check?
Oh, you're stretching me, Steve.
It's like we need to think bigger. We need to think bigger. All right, how can I turn this into something a lot bigger to get a lot more reach? And then I get the insights and data of all these people watching, and I can package that into programming. Like, I'm gonna run some ads, I'm gonna do some long and short format content. I'm gonna create some live experiential events. I'm gonna package that, and this is a program that you can run with and we can partner on and work with.
Yo, that is good. You do really, and I guess I'm guilty of it right now, of thinking, okay, I'm gonna create some content, put their brand on it, and say, hey, y'all give me some money because people like the content, not necessarily thinking of where they're trying to go as a company and how That's the biggest thing. That's why I never call it a sponsorship. I call it a partnership, because both need to benefit from this. It needs to go both ways. That only happens in a partnership. Back in the day, you can get a sponsorship. They'll cut a check, not talk to you, don't care, do what you do. They're just trying to sprinkle that all over. Yeah. Get a bunch of smaller things all over the country. Now they need to be more efficient with their dollars. So you need to present and show that you know what their brand stands for, and you know a yellow brick road to helping them out in their bottom line. Yeah.
Through your audience.
I'm seeing a lot of companies going to influencers now. So I just saw B. Simone got a Foot Action deal, the whole Cactus Jack, McDonald's thing.
That's a whole clothing line, because she showed she has an audience that moves when she speaks. So she can put out some tights, she can put out hoodie, she can put out socks. And Mary Seats, who, part of Power Circle, Skittles, she's in my book as well. Tell her story with Cupcake Mafia. Like, she built a company from zero to $multi-million, and that's who manages her. So I'm pretty sure that B. Simone got some insights from Mary as well, from that space. Like, she got manufacturers in China. Like, she's done all that. Like, I know her story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I can see how that translates to B. Simone, which is smart because she surrounded herself with the right people.
Where do you see this influencer thing going? Like, because we control. I'll say we, but like the influencers, right? Social media, whatever. They are dictating culture now, right? Because we have a following, like not we, but
You have a following.
I mean,
You
yeah,
have
I
people
do. But
tapping into you.
as an influencer, right? Where do you see the power of these brands going? And obviously, a lot of them aren't using it the way they're undervaluing themselves. I'll put it that way.
100%, because it's new. It's still new.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of how many people, how many ads or whatever we're seeing now is just multiplied and scaled tremendously, but this is fairly new. So people are still learning. People are still understanding the game. And right now, brands have to, because people aren't outside. So what are you doing virtually that can impact our brands? And they're tapping into that culture, right? And like I said before, like they're the machine. So the machine is going to tap into the creative, and they're just going to suck all that out. B. Simone's going to get a nice check. I'm not mad at that at all.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure if she had the proper resources, she could do that herself.
Yeah.
She already has the audience. She already has the people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's where, again, I say the creatives are creating, and then we stop at the product where the people with the resources connect onto you, and they're just juicing that.
Until they're done juicing it. They just connect to somebody else, right?
They connect to somebody else, another influencer.
Right.
That's unlimited resource. So it's good to be an influencer now, have a consistency and an audience and something you can sell.
What do we need to do to protect culture?
The most important thing from day one is unity, actual collaboration. More now than ever, we need more collaboration than ever. There's only so much I can do myself.
Yeah.
By bringing on a Jay Carter and a Troy Brown, now it's, Voltron, like we've built something crazy.
Yeah.
Now picture if we continue to add on that and continue to be a resource to each other. Like that's how we protect culture, because we're not going to be as dependent on others.
Yeah.
Like the difference between an HBCU and a PWI, a predominantly white institute, is their endowment. An endowment for an average not HBCU, a PWI, is about $350 million. Their network is giving back into the source. HBCUs, when you take out Spelman and Howard, it's $8 million. It's a huge difference.
Really?
$350 million and $8 million. So our HBCUs have to be more reliant on government assistance, on one-time big donations. That's why we built HBCU Change. We're trying to help these HBCUs be more self-sufficient. And
why do you say take out Spelman and Howard?
Because their numbers would skew it. Those two schools, when you add in how much they raise compared to the other 103, because there's 103 right now credited and everything, to 103, that it would increase the number. So it might go from 8 million to like 16 million.
Oh,
so
because those two, gotcha.
Those alumni, they give back.
They get it.
But the other 100 aren't on that vibe.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to think like that's what it is across the board. That's not what it is. It's actually a lot lower. It's single digits, 8 million. So that's the difference in unity and actually giving back and building community.
Wow.
It's 350 million, 8 million. And that's our community. That 8 million is culture. That's where all the ideas, everything comes from, that $8 million pot. You know what I'm saying? Those schools.
Amazing.
If that culture went from 8 million to 300 million or 150 million
we'll run the world.
or 250 million, we'd run the world.
Yeah.
Everything. We wouldn't be dependent on anybody. Have our own networks, have our own commercials, have our own radio stations, everything. I don't care for anybody. Like, I don't need iHeart. I don't need the station. I don't need CNN, NBC. We're going to be giving our own news. They're going to be watching what we're talking about, because that's just going to be stale.
Wow. That's why I really love what you do and how you think, because you always think of the collective.
Absolutely.
Right? Just being able to work with you for the last, I guess almost a year or so. You always think collective. How do we get us to think collective?
It's hard because you got everything in the world telling us that you are the star. You know what I'm saying? From all the music we watch, all the videos we watch, all the movies we're attracted to. It's purposely done so we don't think differently. When, you know, from the beginning of slavery, and we precede that. We're kings, queens way before that. When they were coming from Africa, coming here, the best thing they could have done is divide and conquer. So they dropped a little bit in Jamaica, they dropped a little bit in Haiti, they dropped a little bit in this island, put some in the States, and we all think we're different. We don't think we're the same person. We started from the same place, but now we're all over the world, and now we don't think as a collective, as one unit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The Caribbean should move as one unit.
Yeah. And I think we're starting to get more in tune, right? I think the situation with the race riots and Donald Trump being president, right, coming in and kind of exposing what has always been there, I think we're starting to get it now, though.
We're starting to get it. How long does that last? When the rest of the world shuts off that support and care, what happens then? You know what I'm saying? Like, are people still gonna have the same passion and energy to see it through? You know, like, I think that the elders are who they are. I think that change comes from the youth because they view the world differently. What they care for is different. Most don't even drive. They don't care for cars. They don't care for most things that us, as the connectors in between both, like, we see both sides and both worlds, and we can live through both and make that bridge.
Yeah.
They don't care for most of that stuff. So I think the change will come from there. I just hope that they aren't poisoned by the elders, the parents, and the people who are feeding them what they feel like life should be.
Yeah.
Let's allow them to dictate what the world is supposed to look like, because it's going to be different from where we are today. And I think it's going to be better than where we left it. So I think it's important for that to happen, because that's where I think the true spark happens. Yeah. I think right now you got some people who are like sleepwalking. So they hear it, they feel it, but they're really sleeping. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not really about that life. Yeah. So
This is a very heavy conversation. Yo, this was a really, really fulfilling interview for me. You know what I mean? To one, understand that like there's another side that does things differently, and what we're taught on these webinars and what have you, it's not what we just talked about. Like, decisions driven by data, right? Or like seeing this disparity between HBCUs and PWIs. Like, if we don't know to do anything about it.
Right. And to try to magnify that message and push it out is a challenge that I've accepted, through certain platforms and companies that we've brought to life. It's just sharing that message and just getting more people engaged in that space, so they can impact their network and their circles, so that message can continue. But to your point, like, there's a lot of folks who are preaching and sharing that message. It's just the microphone isn't usually on for those people. Because it isn't a part of the plan for the bigger picture of the country. The bigger picture of the country is to keep it how it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can, all right, I'll give you a couple extra dollars to do some things. I know you're going to give it right back. But I'm going to give you a couple dollars, let you live for a bit.
Dang.
And then it goes away. True change, it's a systematic change that has to happen to see true change. Whole different mindset. Like, you can't seek change in our current structure. It's not structured for change. From top to bottom.
Which definitely gives me even more a sense of responsibility, and hopefully, like the viewers, we start to own that there's a problem and we have a responsibility to do something about about it. And you know, we don't have somebody that's gonna go out there and put together the fund or you know, like really be the forerunner, but like take somebody from your neighborhood under your wing.
Yeah.
Mentor somebody.
Yes.
Like
yes.
that's it don't take much.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
Man, Steve, I appreciate you, my brother. I need you, G, I need you to get a question together, okay? I need you to get a question together for Steve, because I really like to get a question that I haven't asked or thought of. So thank you for coming. And I like to make predictions on the podcast.
Okay.
I want to know where you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years, things that you've done, things that you've built, so that I can look at this 5 to 10 years from today and say, wow, Steve said I got the footage. He said he's going to do it. We're looking at it later, actually did it. Where do you see yourself accomplishing? Or where do you see yourself?
In 5 to 10 years, it's a big difference. So I'll start at 5 years, then I'll tell you 10.
Let's do it.
In 5 years, I see a lot of the seeds that I've put in the ground this year with some of the businesses that I have. In 5 years, those businesses are going to have IPOs. Those businesses are going to be huge based off of the placements and where we're putting them in retail and grocery and such. So a lot of the businesses that I currently have that I'm working on are going to be in a totally different space. They're going to go from about, let's say, 20 employees to hundreds of employees because of what we're laying down right now. And all of it's happening right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm speaking the now.
Yeah. When you're creating history, it doesn't feel like it in the moment. But for some reason, it feels like you see it.
Oh, 100%. Like it's being structured specifically for that. In 10 years, I see myself enjoying all that work.
Done.
So done. Like 10 years, like it'll be the next person that we're teaching right now, who's a part of all our meetings and learning. They'll be running the businesses. I'll be somewhere with my wife chilling. If she's still working in the NBA and we're in another city, cool. But, you know, my kids, you know, they'll be going into middle school. They'll be about to finish middle school. So it'll be a totally different vibe and energy in 10 years. 10 years is going to be because of this year, 2020.
How's the pandemic for you?
I don't want to be that person. So I know.
Or maybe not what you've done, but who have you become? Let me phrase it that way. Who have you become through the pandemic?
I've become my purpose. I knew what it was prior, but I'm actually living it day to day. And I've cut the fat of everything else that was lingering because it was something to do. Right now, I do not do anything that doesn't align with my purpose, which is to provide access, information, and opportunity to people. So us doing this podcast is sharing insight and information that hopefully can help someone or more.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm here in Atlanta, and everything that I've done has been a part of my purpose. I don't move without it and my priorities, you know? But this year, I've experienced, you know, family members passing away, my best friends that I've known since elementary school, their parents passing away. I've experienced, you know, people going through depression. I've experienced myself actually taking more time for myself outside of just family. Like if I decide to just sit on the couch and watch Netflix or movies or a series for an entire day, I'm going to do it and I'm going to feel great about that
I need to do it,
Yeah, and not care about phone calls, emails. I needed that, bro? So I'm going to do it.
Next week, I'm going to block off a day. And I think I'm going to name it like Lazy Day.
Please do. Because it does so much more for you. You'll be more impactful prior to that because your mind will be ready to take on more stuff. And the seeds that I've put together this year, I've actually planted, I've watered, I've cared for, given it sunlight, given it the attention, talked to it. I let it breathe, and I'm focused in it. I'm locked in it. Where before it's like I do it, it's talented and making it happen, but was I really giving it all I could? It's like marriage. I feel like the only way marriage works is if you go in 150%. Like the little side things that you may do, it's gonna throw it off. It's gonna throw the balance off. It's not gonna be what it needs to be. And it's the same thing with business. That's why, I only focus on the purpose piece. Opportunities that may come apart, it's not a part of that purpose. I don't really rock with it. I don't care for the opportunity.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's wrap this thing up. Jay, let's give Steve a question. And say aloud as you can.
What are the first steps for an influencer to break the chain of being used?
What is the first step for an influencer to break the chain of being used?
Well,
dang, that's a question.
Being used is in the eye of the beholder. So some influencers don't feel like they're being used because they're getting the check. But if you go into a partnership and you feel like you're getting used, you need to identify what that feeling is. Like, am I getting used because they're repurposing the content and, I didn't get paid enough for it? Are they asking me to do 50 things, for a small check? Like, majority of the time, you made that decision to actually let that ink dry and actually work with the brand. So identifying first and foremost and understanding your true value. 100%. Once you understand your true value, you bring that to the negotiation table, and that's what you present to the potential partner, the organization. You gotta tell them what you want. They're either gonna say yes or no. If they say no, you keep it moving. There'll be other brands that come about. Especially if you're a true influencer and really make an impact and have a dope product or service or whatever it is, other brands will come. Somebody's gonna cut you that check. But you personally have to know your value. If somebody feels right now that they're getting used, it's because they didn't know their true value. They went into a situation just to show on Instagram that they partnered with this brand or they got this check from this brand, and they're just wasting time,
That's so
resources.
Because I would do that.
Know your value, David. You got a dope platform. You're dope. Just keep doing what you're doing, and it's gonna come. Like, there's no set time. Like, I can't say in a month a brand's gonna come and want to cut you a check for this, or that. There's a lot of variables. What is that brand's plan for the year? Who's their audience? What are they trying to accomplish? That determines if they want to work with somebody or not. And then the agency that's coming up with the creative, do they know you? Do they know about you? So when a concept comes and it's something that you could potentially fill that void or create for them, if the agency doesn't know about you, you don't exist. Because the person at corporate damn sure ain't gonna know. If they don't have the right people in that office who's about the culture, who understands more about it. If they do, then they'll be able to identify you. Be like, yo, I've been watching and listening to this podcast, and this David dude is amazing. Like, he be eating these Doritos and he be dropping bars, and he gets all these interviews, and he has great relationships. I think he'd be good for this program. That's how it comes about. If it's not that conversation, then it's you packaging what you have and reaching out to the agencies and having them now have you on the radar. But that has to happen at some point. Somebody needs to know, or somebody needs to let them know.
Steve, you're a brilliant man. I want to say thank you. I really, really, not for just coming on the show, but the impact that you make on our people, and also, just giving me like real game on some stuff. Like, outside of the podcast, like I can call Steve, and I know if I have a something that I'm dealing with, it's not going to be coming from a standpoint of judgment. You know what I mean? Like, I called you like, yo, I think I need a therapist. Steve's like, yo, I had one. Do it. It's dope. I'm like, what? There's no judgment there. So I just want to say thank you for just being.
No,
awesome
absolutely,
human,
man. Like, I think how I approach life is a little bit different. You know, I think there's different lanes. I like playing the background because I like being a part of the strategy and trying to put things together and the planning of it. But, you know, I understand, you know, the lane of being in the front and having conversations and interacting with people. I try to position myself in the middle and just be a resource and be an example. So when I'm on Instagram or social media, I'm doing things to be an example, a positive example. And then on the back end, I'm trying to get as many people as possible that I know that can actually fill a void for a need and get them involved with that partnership or that situation. Trust, if there's an opportunity that comes about and I feel like I could definitely insert you into that, that phone call is going to happen. But that call could be today, it could be next week, it could be next year, it could be this top of 2022. You know how many people that were like, yo, we need to work together. I want to do something. Let me know. It's like, just be patient.
Yeah.
I got you. I know your strengths. And then it'll be 5 years later, 3 years later. They're like, damn, you said that shit or you said that 5 years ago and look at us now. Like, I'm always going to remember. I just, as long as I know the strengths and what the bullets I could use, then we're good. Like, I'm always going to have that in mind.
And I think it's a huge key in that, too, is to be continuing to do what you were doing 5 years ago.
Consistent. Consistency is key.
Yeah.
You can't just drop one thing today, get, X amount of views and think you've made it. You have to be consistent. You got to show people that you can consistently deliver. Yeah. So if, all right, we might not be able to do this program now in January, but we're going to do this in the fall, in September. Can you maintain that consistency for 8 months going into the 9th? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Can you? Yeah. And if you can, then you got something. Then you can actually present that. Then you start planning in June, July, August, and then you launch in September. Like, that's how it works. Sometimes they'll be like, yo, I can't do it this year. We already have our plans in motion. But I think it's something we're going to innovate and focus on for next year. And are you going to be consistent for a year? Yeah. Organizations want to seek consistency. So you got to be consistent.
That's the key. Look, man, get some closing bars together, okay? I want to thank everybody for coming out. Coming out to your computer and watching this interview. That's it. This episode is sponsored, as always, by The Morning Meetup. I want you to go to themorningmeetup.com and enroll. And I want you to invest $1 to be on the most amazing call every single morning. We are the only community that gathers every single morning. The entire community, between 120 and 160 I think we had like 170 people on the call this particular morning. So Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 9 a.m. we gather and we talk about different topics and subjects. So this month we were on the month of October. What are we in? November?
Yeah.
November.
October.
It was all content creation. The month of December of 2020 will be centered around financial literacy. So we're going to make sure your finances together. Everybody in our community is going to know exactly what your budget is for the month. You'll know exactly what your expenses are for the month. You'll know exactly what your business is doing every single month. So I'm excited about that. So go to themorningmeetup.com and enroll today. Okay. Steve, let them know how to find you, and close us out with a word of wisdom, brother.
Yeah, definitely. You can find me on all platforms at Steve Canal. So I'm consistent across the board, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. It's all at Steve Canal. Consistency is key, so I want to make it easy for people to find me. Website at Steve Canal. Well, Steve Canal, www.stevecanal.com. You can book a free 30-minute session if you want to build, talk about, your journey and your path.
I want to book one. You should book one right quick.
And for me, I always tell people, you only live once, so why not be great, right? Why not live this life to the fullest? We only get one time. So are you going to live it to your fullest because there's going to be a moment where you're going to be thinking about all the things could have accomplished if you didn't really, put your energy and super serve your niche. And that's the thing. You need to identify what you're great at and super serve that. Double down on it, because that's 9 times out of 10 going to be something that you really love and you'll do it even without getting paid. Focus on that, identify that, and super serve that to the people, because that's your audience. That's what they're going to want. and you just give it to them and just feed them with it, you know, and just live, because again, we only live once. So why am I gonna half it? Like, I'm gonna put my all into it, and I'm gonna make sure that every minute that I put out there is worth it. It's fulfilling. It's a fulfilling minute. You know what I'm saying? Like, live. Not too many of us aren't tapping into that energy. So just want to make sure you live. Like, tap into that energy. Only get one life, bro.
Yeah. Can't close it out no stronger than that. Listen, y'all, go get you some social proof. Go build something and go teach somebody how you built it. All right, we are out of here. Peace.
Peace.